Hey guys, so I have been swamped recently. I'm trying to work on this huge project right now, and I've been kind of inactive for the last 2 weeks, but I wanted to bring you guys my match here from Portland a few weeks ago. I ended up taking gold, and I'm going to show you guys how I did that. Now, my first opponent here, I've actually trained with him 2 weeks prior to this event, and I kind of got the edge over him a lot of the times in our training rounds, so I was pretty confident going into this round, and I also felt kind of bad. He's a good friend of mine, so it was unfortunate to kind of be, the first match of the day, and also knowing I had an edge over him. To start things off, I've been working a lot on my wrestling, and you guys will notice my collar ties here. I always reach with my backhand, and I'm also like kind of not sprawling, but I'm playing forward on this left hip. That way, if he does take a shot, I'm already kind of in that sprawling motion. Also, you guys have probably heard Demon talk a lot about this. Whenever I collar tie, I always make sure to grab the opposite wrist. That way I can kind of control the hand fight as well. Now, this is one of the major mistakes I've been making prior to this event, and I really got in trouble for it during this match, and you guys will see that soon. But the idea is, whenever I went for this foot sweep, I neglected his collar tie hand, and Eric's going to capitalize on that in a second here. So as we continue, I get back to my collar tie and wrist grip, and then I go for that foot sweep again, but you'll see I neglect the hand, and I think he timed it on this part, and he goes for that underhook, wraps up on the body lock, ends up transitioning to a rear body lock, and just starts throwing me around. I've actually been training this with one of my main training partners in the morning, so I felt pretty comfortable in this position, knowing that nobody is going to beat Justin's rear body lock. My focus was just sitting out, getting my hips forward, and pressing his hands off, trying to go 2-on-1, break his grip, and then reset back to neutral position. My next move here was going to be a arm drag single leg. Now, this is a takedown that I've been using since white belt, and I don't really train it anymore. I just kind of instinctually do it. But you'll notice here my right leg is going out, and it's fully extending to catch Eric's legs, and that'll make him stumble just enough to start wrapping up on the single leg. Now, a huge tip that we cover in the Match Chess Fundamentals, and guys, pay attention because this one is like a gold nugget. Honestly, one of the most important tips that I've gotten since training Match Chess. You see my right leg is forward. This opens up the guillotine, and Eric starts to capitalize on that. So in order to prevent the guillotine, I bring my left leg forward as I walk into Eric, and that changes the position of my body. So right leg forward kind of enforces my head on the outside, and as I bring that left leg forward, it pushes my head back to the inside and makes it really hard. And when I take him down, my body and head position are on the correct opposite sides. So with my passing, you'll notice I always try to attack the opposite side of where the hips are facing. So with Eric's hips facing into me, I start walking towards that left side. This kind of forces and encourages Eric to make a big movement, which I can later try to capitalize on and try to time him. As he brings this big high leg over, I let that leg fall over and I start attacking, once again, that opposite side of the hips. Enforcing big movement and encouraging, drastic overcorrections, and eventually he overcorrects a little too far. I'm able to work my way up to the torso, and then I start spinning onto the back. All right, so let's talk about that back take. One thing you guys will always hear me talk about is keeping the hips facing away from you when you're passing. And you can see me using my chest to really enforce that by pushing my chest onto the knee and kind of tilting his hips to his left. Eric starts entangling my legs down here, so I make sure to control that near side leg, and using that, I was able to pommel my right leg out and start working towards that back exposure. As I do that, notice how close my hips are to Eric's hips, and as we're going to roll through, I'm inserting my left leg as the hooks. And my right leg, instead of looking for another hook, I actually keep it outside, because as we roll over here, my right leg's gonna end up on bottom, and I'm gonna try to use that as a lever to lift Eric's hips back up so I can re-expose his back. Eric starts climbing up and starts to work back into turtle. As he does this, I'm gonna lock on my seatbelt grip, and I'm gonna jump over him using my knee here to topple him over and insert the top hook. Now, bottom hook is always preferable. However, using the top hook and the seatbelt grip, I'm able to start coming up to my left knee here. And then from this position, I'm going to get my left knee really high and chair sit back out to take Eric's back again. In order to start working towards the choke, Eric has a grip on my left hand here, but I pull my hand back and then shoot it right under his neck, trying to work my way up onto his shoulder. Once I get it onto the shoulder, you're going to see my head here go and cover my hand with my chin. And this is going to make it hard for Eric to really start pulling back on my hand. So Eric has a death grip here on my right arm, and in order to kind of free my arm and start working towards the finish, I'm actually going to take my left hook out and I'm going to start pressing it up against his left leg and forcing him to turn down to this right side. Doing that, I'm going to start turning belly down, kind of blocking that right arm from coming back. That way I can escape my right arm. And as I start dragging him back to the left side, you're really going to see the emphasis on keeping my chin over my hand. And as Eric goes to try to peel my hand down, he stuttered for a second because my chin is over it and it's really hard to grab. So in that transition, I slide my right arm in and get the finish. Thank you guys for watching. Now I have Euros next week and a ton of other projects to work on, so videos are going to be a little bit slower, but I'm planning on ramping it up going into November. So stay tuned, subscribe, and go pass some guards.